We turn our attention now to the North Texas Mean Green, who had an outstanding season last year. They had a 4-game improvement from 2015. They went to a bowl game, and it was a great year for first-year head coach Seth Luttrell, who joins us. Good to have you with us, buddy.
Appreciate you having us on.
Also joining us today is running back Jeffrey Wilson. He was the team's leading rusher last season. And from the defense, Keyshawn McClain, preseason All-Conference USA, finished the year with 91 total tackles. I've known you a long time. Last year was great. You get to go to a bowl game first time since 2013 or whatever it was. Complacency is the enemy of excellence, said former Oklahoma coach Bud Wilkinson. Is that been in the back of your mind? We didn't achieve anything. We still got things to do this year.
It's on my mind every year. And, again, I think in this sport, any team sport, you better have a chip on your shoulder, and you better figure out a way for whatever success you have, whether it's week to week, game to game, or an entire season, as a way to restart it and refocus and make sure that your goals and everything that you're trying to accomplish is known and right there in front of you. And so I think every year at the end of the season you got to reset it and go back to day one and talk about your culture, talk about your core values, and continue to stress the importance of consistency, how we're going to work to accomplish the mission. And our team's done a great job of doing that. We've got a great group of men. We've got great coaches, and so they take a lot of strain off of us.
Did your prep work get better as the season went on last year?
No doubt. Early on, to me, one of the big turning points of the season was the week of Florida. And I think offensively, defensively, they had a really consistent week of practice and preparation that week. Offensively, we were terrible, and I made it known. And this isn't how we work, and this is what happens when you work like this. You have no chance. There's too much parity, and there's too many good teams you're going to face throughout the season. You got to learn how to work, and so from then on out, it became much more consistent. Some weeks were better than others, but they understood the standard of what it looked like to prepare for a football game.
One of the things I noticed last year, and when I had one of your games, you and I talked about it, you kept the game plan simple. Was it possible because the guys up front, they just couldn't take all of it in? And if so, do you expand that game plan this year?
Again, it depends on how much better we are in that department. Every year's a little bit different. Every team's different. So our playbook's only going to be as big as what our players can understand the answers to, and are they allowed to play fast within the system? Because the more you put on them, I think the more hesitant you can get if they're not really sure about it. So my philosophy is keep it as simple as possible. Let them go out there and play fast and make plays.
A lot of coaches, though, they want to get their whole playbook in, but sometimes that's not the best thing to do.
It depends. There's times where you may have a lot of offense. There's times where I've called an offensive game, and it may look like you have a lot of plays on your game plan, and you end up running 10 plays. And so the hardest thing is figuring out what are the best 10 plays to run versus whatever you're going to face that week. And again, if it's working, just let them go out there and make plays, play fast. Sometimes us as coaches, we get in the way, and we overthink it ourselves too much.
You obviously improved your scoring from 2015 to 2016. I look at this team and I wonder, is there a proven playmaker on offense, especially from the wide receiver standpoint for you?
I don't think there's a proven one at the wide receiver position right now, but I do think there's guys that I feel like could have breakout seasons, that could be really good football players that have high ceilings and who are working extremely hard and doing some really good things right now. But do we have a guy right now that I would name? No. At receiver.
Mason Fine. A lot of people thought that was a gamble, you starting him last year. But as the season went on, he started to get a little more comfortable. What do you expect from him to go from year one to year two as far as quarterback?
Just get more comfortable. I think with any system, the more you're repping it, the more you get to know it. Again, trying to keep it simple for us, but he's had a really good offseason. There's one thing about Mason. He's going to work extremely hard. He studies the game. And so he had a much better spring. But also Quinn Schomburg was a guy that he competed with in this spring, and he also had a heck of a spring. So, again, it's another one of those challenges to both of them, that just get as good as you can be. And one of those guys need to emerge as the clear-cut leader and to lead this football team into a good season.
Well, your philosophy, obviously, offensively, is to be successful. You must run the football. You've got some experience coming back on the offensive line, but you still have to complete some deep balls. Did you complete as many deep balls last year as you wanted to?
No, I think we're atrocious on the deep ball. I thought as the season went on, we got a little bit more consistent with it. But I think really this spring, that's something that we really worked on and really challenged our men on. And this spring was much better. But, no, to answer your question, I didn't feel like we were good in that department at all this last season.
Let's talk to the players a little bit. Jeffrey Wilson, as mentioned, led the team in rushing the last 2 years. He had 936 yards running the football last year despite missing 2 games in parts of others. Jeffrey, is the number one key this year staying healthy?
Yes, sir. That's the biggest part, and that's the part that we focused on in this offseason.
How did you do that?
Oh, man, it goes from far as nutrition to sleeping to stretching to exercising, right? Just the whole 9 yards. We just made sure we took our time and worked on my body from head to toe.
Now, it didn't take your players long to buy in what Seth and Coach Harrell were giving to you offensively. It seemed like you got a comfort factor right away with them. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, yes, sir. That's very fair. That's very fair. You know, Coach Luttrell, he's a great guy. He's a tremendous guy. You know,
you better say tremendous. Great doesn't cut it now.
No, sir. No, sir, it doesn't. But he deserves it all, though. He's a father figure to all the players on the team, and we look up to him in that way.
Now, Seth and I were just talking about, being complacent after a bowl game. Because you go to a bowl game, you guys probably, a lot of the players hadn't been to one. Has that been talked among the players that we still haven't done anything here at North Texas?
Oh, yes, sir. And that's what we emphasize a lot in the locker room. You know, that's not something that we wanted. That's not something that we strive for, and that's not the goal that we wanted to achieve. The goal was to complete our mission, and the mission was to win our bowl game, and we didn't do that.
Also joining us is safety Keyshawn McClain, preseason All-Conference USA, and one publication called him, and I quote, the most dynamic player for North Texas from last season. Do you like hearing that?
I love hearing it.
Can you live up to that?
I definitely could. I'll show you guys.
Okay, the defense obviously much improved from 2015 to last year. What in your eyes were the biggest improvements?
The biggest improvement was guys just buying into what, we had different coaching changes. We just bought in. Just do what coaches told to do. Don't do too much. Just do your job and everything will work out.
And how about the improvement this year? What have you focused on to make that next step defensively?
Being more vocal to my guys, more of a leader, make sure there's more film work there that there have ever been on the defensive side since I've been there, So we just have guys buying in with each other, creating a bond, and just attacking everything that we're doing.
Now, you had 14 interceptions last year as a unit, and you also were obviously in the top couple as far as pass defense is concerned. Are those goals for you again to surpass that, not be number 2 or 3, but be number 1?
Yes, most definitely. We want more. We're going to try to top that. We want 20 in the top. We want 20 picks, 20 everything. We want to get our hands on more balls, more pass breakups, and everything. So anything's in the air, we're going to try to go get it. That's our goal.
One of the things that stands out when you look at numbers, and not to get caught up in numbers, but 48% opponents were successful on third down. I would have to think, Seth, that is not an acceptable number to you.
No, our third down defense was poor last year. We gave up too many big plays, and we would get people behind the chains, and we did a really nice job being consistent on first and second down. But third down was a poor part of our game this past year, and I think it cost us a lot of football games. That's not the only reason. It takes 3 phases of the game to win and lose football games. But, that's something we really focused on and emphasized. And Coach Reffett does an unbelievable job. I mean, look, he understands what the issues are within the system and throughout the year. So, again, this is a new team, and it's something we're definitely going to focus on getting off the football field.
I look at your team, and I think the defensive line will make the biggest jump this year, despite the fact you have new players. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I think it's our deepest position on our team. There's no doubt about that. Again, you still got to go out and make plays. But the good thing about it, there's a lot of competition in that room. And so every day you better come show up to work. There's a lot of guys that can go in and make plays for us. It's a room that has pretty good leadership, starting with Andy Felucci. I mean, what a teammate he is, and he's a great team leader, and he holds those guys accountable. And so I'm really looking forward to watching Coach Yellick and those men compete this year.
One of the things that stood out, too, the number is +1 in turnovers last year. It doesn't seem like a big number, but considering what had been the last couple of years, I think, Keyshawn, that is a big number for you guys.
Yes, sir.
How many picks you want? You, personally.
I want 7 to 8.
You
That's
personally?
Personally.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Let's go, buddy.
There you go.
That ball.
How about the fact that you were +1 as far as turnovers?
It's good. We still can be more consistent. Obviously that's the name of the game. win the turnover battle. That's obviously, as a team, that's one of our main goals every single week. And, that and explosive plays, I think, win and lose you football games. And explosive play battle, if you can win that, you can win on the turnover battle. Most of the time you're going to win the football game.
Let's talk about the offense. Just go back for a second, because another stat that stood out that I know has been worked on, you gave up 43 sacks this past season. Was that breakdown mechanics, mental, or a combination of everything?
Well, a combination of, an offensive line who's young, a group that maybe didn't have as much chemistry, just being shuffled around so much due to injuries. Some of it's having a freshman quarterback that squeezed the ball too long at times, not knowing where to go with the ball. So it's a team effort. Some of it's been, Jeffrey will tell you, that's something we worked on a lot this offseason, is his pass protection. Missing too many blitzes, getting your eyes on the right keys. So unfortunately, it was fortunately and unfortunately, we gave up way too many sacks, but it was everybody. It was offensive line, it was running backs, and it was a quarterback, and it was receivers. You got to get your butt open. You want to catch the football, you better go get open fast.
When you self-scout, do you still have to find more ways to get Jeffrey the ball?
We're always looking to get our playmakers the ball. Not only Jeffrey, but I feel like there's some other guys that we need to get the ball to. We got to spread it around, but when Jeffrey's on and when he's going, pretty much as an offensive unit, we are too. So. We definitely have to find ways to get him the ball, and he's got to do a great job again, having a great season and being consistent throughout every week of taking care of his body.
Receivers, who should we watch out for this year?
I think Rico Busi is a young guy that kind of got injured early on in the season, missed 4 or 5 games there, and then came back and had a big bowl game. I think he has a really big upside. He's as talented as a lot of them I've been around, but again, just kind of young and raw. I think he's a guy that I think he can be a playmaker for us. And then Jalen Guyton, a guy that who's coming in a transfer, had a really good spring. You talk about competitive and the way he works. He's extremely smart, but he's extremely athletic. And he's came in, he's bought into what we're trying to get accomplished, and he's worked extremely hard this offseason. And I'm looking for him to have a really big year.
Guyton originally committed, by the way, to Notre Dame out of high school, so he's a big addition. Seth, always good to see you, my friend.
Always good. Appreciate it.
I wish you guys the best of luck.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
healthy,
Yes,
both
sir.
of you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll continue our coverage of Conference USA Kickoff when we return right after this.